Hi guys, my name's Seb Tudor, I'm the man on the Silver Mountain, and welcome back. Now today I want to talk about the shooting that happened at the YouTube headquarters in California. First off though, yes, Hannah is in the background, but she's here doing her own work, and she's here with me for the week, so she may very well be in the background of a couple of other videos, if not all of them, for this week, so, you know, just ignore her. Not something I would usually say, but there you go. But anyway, on to the matter at hand. I wanted to go into the YouTube shooting. Now, I kind of want to talk about what happened, but I don't want to go into it to the same amount of depth and covering the various press conferences that the police have given and things like that, because I feel like those have been covered a load in other places. I want to go over the basics of what happened, seemingly why it happened, and then the fallout, both in terms of the reactions that we've seen so far, as well as kind of more of what I would like to see. Now, the what happened? Well, we had a 39-year-old woman who was a creator on YouTube and other social media sites, who apparently, I think disgruntled would probably be the way that she would have been summed up a while ago. But ultimately, she wasn't happy. She felt very negatively about YouTube and the way that she individually, personally, had been treated by the platform. In which case, then she went off from where she lived in San Diego to the was it Mountain View, I think, in California, where the YouTube head office is, and apparently she had been to a shooting range earlier that day with her Smith & Wesson legally obtained semi-automatic handgun, which then she ended up using to attack members of staff there, leaving, from what I understand, one in critical condition and at least 3 or 4 others injured. The thing that stands out as kind of a point of contention is that apparently her leaving home and traveling from San Diego to Mountain View was highlighted by family members to police, but then police are saying that they never received such reports, and so there's a bit of he said, she said in regards to kind of whether or not a report was made and followed up on properly, whether or not the police received the report in the way that it's been suggested it was delivered, and so on and so forth. And that's kind of a point for to kind of see how things pan out moving forward. The thing that stands out, though, is the kind of reasons why this has happened. And I feel like this is where an element of understanding can come in regards to why this person, who seemingly wasn't the most stable individual in the first place, ended up going and committing this attack. Ultimately, across a lot of her YouTube, a lot of her other social media, she felt that she was being discriminated against and filtered, mostly due to the new policies that had a whole load of smaller YouTubers, myself included, having our monetization removed and seemingly being treated as if we had done something wrong, treated very much the same way that creators like Logan Paul were being treated early on. And that frustration, lack of communication, and so on and so forth, seemed to be the driving factor behind this grudge that this woman had. Now, did she take it too far? Certainly. Did she take it well beyond the reaches of any kind of reasonable complaint? Yes. As soon as you pick up a weapon and point it at someone, you've stepped past that line and you're gone and you're lost to it to one extent or another. So it's something that we can understand where she was motivated from, especially considering that she didn't seem to be the most, as said, stable individual. Like, lots of the rest of us have complained about YouTube's policies and gone, well, I'm still sticking here because I want the platform to be better, I want to see growth from it and all the rest of it. This person took that to the point of going beyond reasonable thought into seeming psychosis, or at least something on that level. And this is where, again, I would reiterate that her gun was legally obtained. And the thing that stands out to me is all of those people that have again pointed at this and gone, this was legally obtained by someone who was fairly obviously unstable to one extent or another, and she was still able to get a firearm and all the rest of it. If you just had, you don't need to ban firearms, but putting in those extra levels of inconvenience. So your average law-abiding individual who wants to own a gun for personal protection, for sport, for whatever else, those extra levels of inconvenience will be just that, they're inconvenient. In regards to someone like this looking to obtain a weapon to potentially do something like this and harm people, those extra levels of inconvenience help filter those people out, especially in regards to things like psychological testings and evaluations. Just another standout point there on the whole gun control debate in the United States at the moment. But the things that kind of stand out time and time and time again is she's like this individual is seemingly very upset and hurt about the fact that YouTube isn't just and Google aren't just letting people find all of her content instantly, suggesting that she's maybe a little unhinged and delusional to begin with. She doesn't have expectations of kind of how these things snowball and grow over time, and as a result, that's led her to jump the gun and complain about age restrictions or about the way that her videos have been dealt with, and she's calling it discrimination and going off on one. And it's troubling because, again, it's all about proportionality, yeah, and all about perspective. And this woman has taken what not just her, many other people are dealing with in regards to YouTube's crappy policies, YouTube's disconnection from its viewership and its audience and its creators, the weird bubble that it's creating around itself, Google not doing anything to help either, and so on and so forth, and the stomping on the smaller YouTubers. But she's taken it to heart in such a way that she's not just complaining, she's ranting, raving, and going mad about it, to the extent that then she has taken a seemingly, from what I understand, quite long trip to go and attack people. Now, I'm interested to see if there's security footage of what's gone on, and I'm interested to see what happens with the rest of the investigation around her committing this offence to begin with, because obviously there could, with someone as unstable as this, it could have been anything that set her off at the time. Whether or not she just walked in and started shooting, whether or not she walked in and only started shooting after something set her off. You know, it's going to be interesting to see how the situation kind of escalated from her turning up to her opening fire on people. But then I want to talk about the reactions that I've seen. And I've seen a lot of people going, as I just did a moment ago, about the gun control thing, and that's kind of a ongoing discussion that this kind of maybe supports a side of. But then you've also got the people who are going, well, if you had more people with more guns on that site, then as soon as she pulled one out, she'd be shot. Yeah, but then also potentially collateral damage. I don't know. It's you've got that ongoing discussion that's always going to be there for a while. But then the other things that stand out to me are the people who are using this as a means to attack YouTube. And YouTube has a lot that that you can attack them on, but no one deserves to be shot at. No one deserves to be attacked in this way. Even if we can understand that the crappy policies that YouTube have put forward might have been something that this unstable individual hooked onto to use as her justification to herself to go and commit a heinous act, it was still a heinous act. No member of staff there, none of the individuals that were harmed deserves this. Even the people who make all of those decisions for their own private company, they might deserve criticism. They might deserve ridicule and so on and so forth around those specific topics, but they do not deserve harm. So firstly, it's not a case of they deserved it because they did this in the first place. It's a case of this person was crazy and was attacking people. No one deserves that. But then in regards to YouTube's policies and YouTube's response, would I like to see change? Yes. Am I talking about their policies for YouTube itself as a platform though? No. Because as far as I'm concerned, that argument between creators, especially small creators, and YouTube as a whole, and especially with some of the other stuff that's come out more recently that they've explained and that demonstrates how ridiculous and daft YouTube are in regards to the way that they handle their platform itself, like the notifications and subscriptions thing that was talked about a couple of weeks ago on one of their blog dev video things, whatever they're calling them now, their Creator Academy or whatever it was that video came out on. The policies that I would love to see them address here is more just the policies for their security around their own head offices, around their YouTube spaces. Because over the last few years, we've had YouTubers getting killed. We've had people being attacked in various different ways as a result of the fact that they just create content and share it with people. We've had things like this going on. I would love to see, and I'm not talking about just having more armed guards. I'm talking about having things that would actually make a difference, like checking people's bags when they're entering and exiting, making sure that people are well monitored when they're there. Because if there isn't security footage of this woman's passage through the YouTube headquarters as she was entering, as the attacks happened, what happened afterwards, then why not? They're one of the most, Google and YouTube are one of the most technologically capable companies in the world. They have more than enough stuff there that needs protecting. Why don't they have surveillance footage of as many angles as possible stored that they can use to monitor people? Why do they not have people engaged in security in that way to ensure that these things, at the very least, can have productive aftermath rather than floundering and all the rest of it? Those are the policies that I would like to see them address and change and talk to us about, especially considering in regards to YouTube Spaces, they aren't really for YouTube staff. They are for creators to come, work, gain access to things that they wouldn't have access to otherwise, and so on. But I feel like it has to be an across-the-board review of how they are securing their people, how they are securing their facilities, and how they want to work with their audience to ensure that this doesn't happen again. No one deserves to be attacked in this way, in a physical way that could end a life. And so making sure that we've got those policies that are not just internal, but that they are understood by and available to everyone who is interacting with YouTube as a whole. Making sure that those as a organization, as a culture around the platform, those people who want to take advantage of YouTube Spaces, take advantage of going to courses at YouTube head offices, and interacting with Google in a more face-to-face kind of way, they need to understand these policies, they need to be aware of these policies, and these policies need to be in place. And they need to be good policies. They don't need to be like the policies on the platform that are fairly evidently damaging to large swathes of their population. They need to be kind of standardized and stringent and checkable and as advertised. They don't need to be, a subscription is one thing and then not actually that thing. It needs to be, if you're going and having time at a YouTube space, your bags need to be checked. They need to be checked at this particular time. You need to have a certain tag to say that you've been checked. You need to do this, that, and the other. You need to be available to be monitored at all times whilst within the facility. It might seem a little much, but considering that we have had YouTubers being attacked, we've now had this attack at YouTube head office on YouTube staff, it becomes important to have all of those things in place, because otherwise, especially if you're not transparent about them and it's only internal, you can't gain backup from the rest of your community, especially when those communities, YouTube creators in particular, especially those that are getting paid, are essentially contractors for YouTube as a whole. You wouldn't have a contractor come in from outside to work in an office or something like that without making them fully aware of all of the ins and outs and security and fire alarms and all those kind of things that they can expect during a normal week. So YouTube should have no other approach than doing exactly the same for creators in regards to the way that they secure themselves and the people that they work with. But anyway, those are my thoughts, guys. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this entire situation, as well as the other things that have been going on with YouTube, because I know I've not talked about the whole subscriptions and notifications thing in regards to that particular video that came out like last week, or at the time of you guys watching this, about 2 weeks ago. But I've kind of commented in other videos previously how I feel about that. So I'd like to think that you guys can get that from what I've said in the past, and here I wanted to talk very specifically about YouTube's attitude towards the security of its people and towards the way that they operate, and how that needs to be in place as a reaction to this rather than anything to do with the online kind of environment. The online environment wasn't affected by this at all. This was people's lives in the real world being impacted by one unhinged individual who couldn't separate themselves from that online environment. And as a result, I feel that YouTube, across all of its sites, not just in California, not just in the USA, but across all of its sites, needs to ensure that there are certain policies that are maintained, standardized, and stringent to ensure that people either working there as creators, working there as staff, working in their offices as staff, and so on and so forth, are all protected, especially considering some of the crazy stuff we've been seeing lately. But anyway, as said, I'd love to hear your thoughts, guys, and thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the video later. Take care. Thank you very much for watching, guys. If you found this at all interesting or useful, then please drop us a like, share this video, and subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the video tomorrow. Take care.